पानी आ जाएगा,
क्या करें?
पानी आ जाएगा अंदर, इसके पानी नहीं आ जाएगा यहाँ
देखना
है।
ये देख right now we are in water. We are in amphibus.
Museum in the country with over 2 million visitors per year, and it explains the history of human settlement here in Canada. So, as the Native American were here a long time before anybody else, the museum explains a lot about them. Now, the architect for this building, Douglas Cardinal, is a Canadian of European and Native descent. He wanted to include lots of aspects of Native American culture into the construction of this building, so that's the reason why you'll notice that the roof of the building looks like an upside-down canoe. That's a sign of peace according to Native American culture. When the tribes would travel, if they would arrive at another village, they would carry their canoe upside down to show the other tribe that they had no weapons inside their canoe. Now you'll also notice that the support beams for the roof look like oars. If you enter this building, you'll also notice that there are no 90-degree angles, because according to Native American culture, if an evil spirit enters a room where there are 90-degree corners, it will get caught there forever. Now, in this museum, there's a very large totem pole collection, as well as a postal museum and a children's museum, and an IMAX and OmniMax theater. Member of Parliament who was smoking a cigar and threw it out in a trash can. If you take a look towards the back on the left, you'll see that there's a big glass pyramid in front of the National Gallery of Canada. It was actually built as a modern replica of the Library of the Parliament. And right next to it, you can see one of the two steeple of the Notre Dame Basilica. Further off to the right, the top of the American Embassy, then the Connaught Building, and a tiny little bit of the Fairmont Chateau Laurier Hotel. Then there's Parliament Hill. From here you can't see the east block, but there is one. There is the center block with the library behind it, and the one that's undergoing a little bit of renovation is the west block. Now, if you look further in front of us here, to your left-hand side, you'll be able to see that there are two buildings that look a lot like the Parliament buildings. They are the Confederation buildings. They were completed in 1927, and they also house government offices. And the lighter colored one in front of us to the right is the Supreme Court of Canada, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that one when we get back on Wellington Street in Ottawa. Now further up to the right hand side, you'll be able to see Victoria Island, the one with the white tents and the old stone building. That stone building is an old calcium carbide mill. You can go to Victoria Island during the summer to explore Native American culture. They set up a little Native American village there where you can go to learn about dances, culture, foods, and all other types of things like that. Now, along the river's edge to the right-hand side, you'll be able to see that there's a bike path. That path goes all around the city of Ottawa and takes you to all the major sites and attractions of the city. So, of course, during the summer, lots of people use it to get to work. Now, that path is very, very long. It extends on about 200 kilometers. Now, in front of the Parliament Centre block, you'll be able to see the top of the Peace Tower, which is the tower with the clock on it and the Canadian flag flying up top. That's pretty much how most people recognize the Centre block of Parliament. Now, the flag that's on top of the tower is actually changed every day, and if you're a Canadian citizen, you can get that flag for free. All you have to do is go to Parliament Hill and put your name on the waiting list. As of last summer, the waiting period for that flag is of over 18 years. Now, slowly but surely, further in front of us to the right-hand side, you'll be able to see the first 8 locks of the Rideau Canal. They're the first 8 of 47, most of which are still hand-operated today, and it takes about 2 hours to get through these first ones right here. Now, the 47 locks altogether join different lakes and rivers to make up a canal that's 202 kilometers long and about 10 to 12 feet deep throughout, starting from right here in Ottawa and going all the way to Kingston, Ontario. Now, the canal was built from 1826 to 1832 by the British military under the supervision of Colonel John By. I mentioned him a little bit earlier when we went by the Byward Market, which is named after him today. Lots of other things are also still named after him, and around here he seems like a very well-liked man. Not the same situation when he went back home. When he got home to England, he was actually prosecuted because they believed that he had spent more money than necessary on the construction of the Rideau Canal. Now, Majors Hill Park is right in front of us here to the right-hand side. And in that park, there is a statue of him, Colonel John By, watching over his masterpiece, which is the Rideau Canal. Now, the canal was originally built for military purposes. It would have served as an escape route and means of communication in case we were ever attacked. Now, at the time, we didn't have a very good relationship with people who are now our great friends down south in the United States, and we were afraid that we might be attacked, and if that would have happened, it would have been very easy for anyone to blockade the St. Lawrence Seaway, which was the only means of communication between the major cities of Kingston and Montreal. So, they built the canal. The canal takes you from Kingston all the way to right here in Ottawa at the Ottawa River, which in turn takes you to the city of Montreal and to the St. Lawrence Seaway. Now, thank God we never had to use the canal for military purposes. This area was never under attack. Today, the canal during the summer is mostly used for pleasure boating. You can go to Dow's Lake to rent canoe and kayak type boats. And during the winter, it is the world's largest naturally frozen skating rink. You can find that fact in the Guinness Book of World Records. But before winter comes, they drown out the canal to leave only 4 feet of water. Then once there's 1 foot of ice, which takes about 2 weeks of minus 30 degrees Celsius temperatures, they clean off 7.8 kilometers of the canal to be skated on, from right after these first 8 locks here all the way down to Dow's Lake, where you can see all kinds of different things, such as figure skating competitions. Now, as of 2007, the Rideau Canal is a World Heritage Site of the UNESCO. Now, up the hill to the right-hand side, you probably had already noticed that there was a statue. That is the statue of Samuel de Champlain. He was a 17th century explorer and the founder of the city of Quebec, which of course celebrated its 400th anniversary last year. Now, if you look closely, you'll be able to see that he's holding something in his hand. It's called an astrolabe, and it's a navigational tool that was used back in his day. You can find one in the Canadian Museum of Civilization. Now, by show of hands, I'd like to know how many people here know how to use an astrolabe. As you can see, not too many people know how to use them, including the person who designed this statue. Samuel de Champlain is holding his upside down. Now, if nobody had told me, I would not have known either, because I don't really know how to use it. The only thing I do know about the astrolabe is that it's used to navigate according to the stars. So just behind this point here on the right-hand side, slowly but surely, you'll be able to see the back of the Royal Canadian Mint that we saw a little bit earlier during the tour. During its good years, it was the world's second largest gold refinery, and at one point they had so much gold dust, they didn't know what to do with it, so they simply threw it in the Ottawa River. The problem is that the 15 feet of logs are on top of the gold, making it pretty much impossible to get to. So here is the back of the mint, slowly but surely. And if you look further down to the right-hand side along the riverside, you'll see that there is a blue and yellow barge. You'll see it a little bit better as we turn. They tried for quite a few years to get to the gold at the bottom of the river. They ran out of money, looked for more sponsors, but from what we know, we've never found anything. Now, just past that blue and yellow barge to the right-hand side, you'll be able to see two white buildings with red roofs. That's the Ottawa Rowing Club, and it's as old as the country because it was founded by our first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, who lived in the stone house with the white trim right behind it on the other side of Macdonald-Cartier Bridge. He passed away there in 1891, and today it's the home of the British High Commissioner. Every time we change Prime Ministers, he or she is made the honorary president of the Ottawa Rowing Club. Most mornings and evenings, when the river is at its calmest, you can see the members of the rowing club practicing in this area right here. Now, it was in 1857 that Queen Victoria chose Ottawa to be the permanent national capital of Canada. She picked this city for three main reasons. The first reason was because she wanted to protect us. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, didn't have a very good relationship with our friends now in the United States, so she picked a city that was a little bit further away from the American border, just in case. The second reason was also for the location of the city, but it was for the bilingualism of the city as well. The city of Ottawa was located on the border of two provinces, one French-speaking, one English-speaking. At the time, they were known as Upper and Lower Canada. Today, of course, Quebec and Ontario. That made for the city to be very bilingual, making it very good for commerce. Today, the city of Ottawa is still very bilingual. 50% of the citizens of Ottawa have English as their first language, and 32% of the citizens of Ottawa have French as their first language. Now, the third reason for her decision is very simple. She wanted to develop new land. Ottawa was pretty much covered in sawmills and trees, but Parliament Hill was ready to be built on. So after her decision was made, they began the construction of the buildings on Parliament Hill. The east and west blocks were completed in 1866, and the original centre block was completed 1 year later in 1867, which is also the year of Canada's Confederation, the year Canada became an independent country from England.